Hi, this is Carole and welcome to my studio. This painting is of an ocean and I named it Rough Waters. It's an oil on canvas, 30 by 30. I had the canvas prepared with a heavy gel and I really wanted to knock some of that down. So what I used was the first layers of this painting is with acrylic paint and I applied it pretty heavy. Here right now I'm applying the acrylic paint. I'm putting in basically my sky and I'm working with a various blend of blues and magenta and the cobalt violet for the sky. Since I'm going to have a rough ocean in this painting, I'm going to make sure that my clouds are pretty heavy and broad across the canvas. Once I get started with the oil paint, I use a variety of different colors for the sky. I'm using the ultramarine blue, cobalt blue, turquoise blue, Peruvian blue, and of course mixed in with my titanium white. The ratio depends on how deep I want the blue to be. But as you can see right now, I'm blocking in some of my waves with the darker blue. This is still the acrylic paint that I'm using. After the acrylic paint is dry, I start blocking in my oil paint. And I know I'm going to be using some opposite colors from the blue because I want the sky to really be brilliant. I want it to have a lot of colors of your lavenders, the various blues, and a little bit of the sunshine shining through the clouds and also coming down upon the water. So I'm blending in some of the paint that I applied with the spatula knife. It's also called a palette knife. And I'm laying in some of the carbon black mixed with titanium white for my gray. This does blend in very nice with the colors. It makes it very mellow and subdued looking. Okay, I'm going to sit back and watch me paint. My technique is self-explanatory. It's basically layer after layer of my oil paint. And of course I do mix my oil paint with the linseed oil so I get a much easier application on the canvas and also a faster dry. So here we go. I'll continue to paint. Also keep in mind I do have this sped up 7 times, so that's actually at 700% of the normal speed. My painting technique that I'm using for those clouds that I'm layering in right now with the titanium white and a very little blue mixed in with it. I'm not ready to have a straight white look on those clouds. That layering on the clouds is done at the edge of each cloud. So I'm bringing in the highlights of the sunshine that's behind the cloud, beaming up on it. And here I'm working the waves, beginning to block in the waves coming in the shoreline. FYI, I'm designing this ocean, which is my composition, without any photograph, just basically possibly a scene of looking at an ocean from my memory. If you watched any of my other paintings of oceans, you'll notice that what I do is I paint in sections and I continually go back and forth to the various sections. This allows my paint to dry somewhat. And I do use the linseed oil blended in with my paints. And I always try not to blend on the canvas. The next brush strokes are pretty important for the incoming waves. This is the beginning part of the foam that the ocean creates. And of course, with foam, you've got your various whites going in. And of course, you have to have shadows in between those bubbles. And I'm using a flat brush, applying those dark, thin lines. As you can see here, I'm using the palette knife to put in some of my mix of the titanium white and blue. This is not the straight white. It's tinted. Because when I want to put the lighter white, it'll be in the foreground and the very tops of the waves. That helps give it a 3D look on a flat surface. I'm going to be putting in some highlights on the wet sand area. And of course, where the wave hits the sand, I'll have to also add a dark line to represent a shadow, because that foam does have dimension to it. Okay, I'm back up into my cloud area. I'm putting in some of the magenta, and that is straight from the tube. I will be toning that down later in the painting. I just wanted to have a little bit underneath some of my colors. And of course, I always focus on my color harmony, so I should be bringing some of those colors that I have in the sky also down into the ocean, the waters of the ocean. That's definitely the shadow area that I'm painting right now of the wave. It's going to be a darker blue. Here I'm adding in some sap green and white blended together for my highlights from the sun. And I will be toning that green down on the top of the waves when I add my white to it. But it's transparent. You'll actually see some of that green. And at the end of the painting, I will want some of that light green to show through the white foam. It'll make the wave look somewhat transparent.